Welcome class back to Chapter 6, Positioning Objects with CSS and Tables. We finally made it to our last lesson. So Lesson 7, Insert Text and Format Cell Content. You can enter text in a table either by typing the content in the cell, copying it from another source and pasting it to the cell, or importing it from another program. To format the contents of a cell, you can select the cell contents, then apply the formatting to it. So we'll use our tag selector to do so. If a cell contains multiple objects of the same type, such as text, you can format each item individually by applying different CSS rules to each one. So you're essentially applying the style to the content and not to the cell. Formatting a cell is different from formatting a cell's content, as I talked about already. Formatting a cell can include setting properties that visually enhance the cell's appearance, such as setting a cell width, as we did with the shrimp bisque image, okay, and assigning a background color. To format a cell with code that is HTML5 compliant, use codes to define a column group style, such as col group, which will format all cells in a particular column. You can also use the column tag to apply formatting styles to singular cells. Once you've created your styles, you can then add them to the code for the appropriate columns or cells you wish to format. So we're going to finish off. We got the longest section here, 35 through 41, and we're going to pay great attention to the detail of these pages. So we are placing the insertion point in the cell below the bisque image, and we're going to type golf shrimp, and then we're going to do shift enter so that we're doing a line feed, okay, and then we're going to type bisque. So in this cell, we will type golf shrimp, yep, and then shift enter bisque. Okay, so that's what you'll get from step 1. Place the insertion point in the top row of the table and type in, and again, don't worry about the display of your table. Don't let that bother you. Our dining hours are listed below. Now notice it's bold and centered. Okay, it says in step 3, merge the two bottom right cells in the last row and then enter the cafe dining area names, hours, and room service information in the cell rows as shown in figure 41. So we're going to get all this information in, but first we're going to merge these two bottom right cells. So these two right here, we will use the properties inspector to do so. Merge, click, okay. And again, now we're going to enter in our data. Okay, so the terrace, you're going to watch your table adjust, okay? Okay, so there are time frames, and then we'll go ahead and enter in this text. Oops, I hit my caps. Shift enter. Click outside of the table, and it adjusts, and it looks like page 35, which is always a nice reassurance, right? Okay, so again, whenever you want to see your table adjust, okay, click outside of the table, and it'll do that for you. Okay, now we're going to format our cell content, but first we're going to create a class to do so. So in our CSS Designers panel, we're going to create a new class, with, and it's going to be called feature underscore item. Okay, feature underscore item is going to have a font family, a color, and some other font styling. So we're going to be in text. So here's the color. Note on a side note, when you have the 6 digits like we do with the 000033, you can type and shortcut this by going 0 for the first two, 0 for the second two, and 3 for the last two. Okay, it's going to come up with the same color. Okay, as long as the 2 digits that are together are the same, you can shortcut it that way. Okay, font family is going to be Lobster 2. Now, I should see my code kind of adjust here in split view. When we add Lobster 2, you want to verify that in the heads section that this has been added. Okay, this script tag that is linking to the Adobe Web Fonts. Okay, so verify that and then go ahead and add in the font style of italic. 400 for the weight, and font size of large. Okay, that is all for feature item. Okay, now we're going to apply this feature item to the cell itself. Okay, not to the text. So you're not going to highlight golf, shrimp, bisque. You're going to select the TD itself. So do so on the tag selector. Notice that the border is around the cell. And then using my properties inspector, I'm going to find feature item. Now I'm going to modify feature item on page 37 to have text align of center. Okay, notice now it's centered. Okay, and also the width on the layout category to be 25%. Okay, now the width on the 25, adjust this column, okay, this column here to be 25% of the 80% that is set for the table. Okay, we are going to modify the directions on page 38. I always like to play it smart when it comes to teaching you guys your style sheets code, okay? So we're not going to fully copy. What we're going to do is we're going to set the font size to small, okay, for the table. And then we're going to modify that font size to medium, okay, for the desktop view. So we're going to look at the table selector first, and I'm going to do this through SU Styles. I'm going to do Control F on my keyboard and find table. Okay, and that's certainly not the one that I want to be looking at. Here's table. Okay, so we're going to add a font size to this. So we'll go to SU Styles Global, and we can find table. And font size of small. Okay, so now I have a font size of small for my table, which makes sense on a smartphone view, right? That we would have a smaller font size. But on a desktop view, we would be bigger. So I'm just going to go plus. Actually, I'm going to filter this out here first. Take that off. Okay, I got to do desktop query, media query first, then the plus, and then type in table, and then my text to font size of medium. Okay, so now when I look in my desktop section, which is this one right here, I see now I have a new style for table of font size medium. I don't need to repeat the ones that are in global, okay, because remember they're inherited down. We don't want to have to repeat them. Okay, so that is your page 38. So page 39, we are going to modify cell content. Okay, so place the insertion point after the word bisque, okay, because this is considered the last cell. Okay, I'll go to source code here. This is considered the last cell or the last row of our document. So if I need to add more, okay, I just come here, put my insertion point and hit the tab key and it'll insert another row. Okay, so now I have that. You can go ahead and remove the class of feature item. That's not necessary to have there. Okay, And then what they want you to do is to merge these two cells. So again, Properties Inspector and merge. And then we're going to insert a horizontal rule. So creating a divider between the table and the image, and then we'll do one at the top so that it'll be the table and the content that's above it. So before the hour dining hours are listed below is where you're going to insert the next horizontal rule. So looking at it in live view, this is what it looks like. And let's go ahead and totally just go to live view. So we got our horizontal rule above and our horizontal rule below. Okay, we're going to check the layout in all devices, and since we're in live view, it works really well. We can just go ahead and come down here. We're getting into tablet area. Okay, and into our smartphone. And typically we're not going to be that narrow for a smartphone, but we can see how the table adjusts. Okay, the last page talks about validating our HTML5 markup. So you can validate through Dreamweaver by going from File menu to Validate, and then Current Document W3C. And so let's check out what these have to say. Okay, the type attribute is unnecessary for JavaScript resources. So that's referring to the Typekit font. So again, these are warnings, they're not errors. And then this one, language attribute, this is important to do. And again, it's just a warning, but I will have you practice that throughout the web curriculum. So let's just go into source code and place that in here. So language equal EN, because we're going to go with the English language here. And so then I'm going to go ahead and click on play again here and current document. Okay, it didn't like that I did it that way. Okay, so right here. Okay, so we'll put it in here, language equal EN. Okay, save that and run it again. Okay, and now that language warning went away. I will create a video with regards to fonts. I mean, it's going to be outside of the textbook, but there's some things that we need to do with fonts and learn, and then I will address that in a separate video. Probably not here for chapter 6, but coming up soon. Okay, that is your lesson 7. Again, make sure that when you are applying your styles, that you're either applying it directly to the text, okay, if that's the directions, okay, and not to the cell if that's the directions, but sometimes it's applied to the cell, okay, so you want to make sure that you're doing that where it's appropriate. I have a note. I thought I had a note here somewhere. Oh, that is for Bloom's. I'll talk about that in the assignments video. Questions? Let me know.